Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt that quiet nudge, that persistent stirring in your soul, the one that keeps whispering there is more for you? It's not a coincidence, not a random thought. That is the voice of purpose calling you. God has placed a divine assignment on your life, a role only you can fulfill. But stepping into that calling requires more than just acknowledgement. It requires courage, faith, and surrender. Let me remind you, the same God who called Moses, a stuttering man, to lead a nation, the same God who called Esther, an orphan, to save her people, and the same God who called David, a shepherd boy, to become a king, that same God is calling you today. Have you ever noticed how life has a way of pulling at your heart in certain directions? Maybe it's in the form of a dream you can't seem to shake, a passion that burns brightly no matter how much you try to suppress it, or a gift you possess that others continually recognize even when you don't. That is not just a coincidence, it's God's whisper, a divine call planted deep within you before you even took your first breath. Recognizing your calling is not about waiting for a loud, dramatic announcement from the heavens. It's about tuning your heart to hear the still, small voice that has been speaking to you all along. Often we expect God's calling to come in ways that are impossible to ignore, thunderclaps, visions, or some unmistakable sign. But more often, the call begins as a seed, small and seemingly insignificant, waiting for you to notice its potential. The truth is, God has been speaking to you through your life experiences, your trials, your victories, and even your pain. Your calling doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It has been woven into the fabric of your story. Maybe it's the way you feel a unique compassion for people who are hurting because you've been there yourself. Perhaps it's a creative talent that others admire, but you've dismissed as just a hobby. What you see as ordinary, God sees as extraordinary. To recognize your calling, you must be willing to slow down and listen. This world thrives on busyness, noise, and distractions, but God's voice isn't competing for volume, it's waiting for your attention. How many times have you silenced that stirring in your soul because it didn't seem practical or because it didn't fit the expectations of those around you? But let me tell you, the voice of God is persistent. It may come as a gentle reminder in your quiet moments, a recurring thought during your daily routine, or even as a frustration with the status quo in your life. That frustration is not there to torment you, it's there to propel you toward what you were created to do. I want to challenge you today to look at your life through a different lens. Think about the things that make your heart leap with excitement or bring you to tears because you care so deeply. Consider the moments where you feel most alive, most yourself. Those moments are clues, breadcrumbs leading you to the greater picture of what God is calling you to. And here's the beautiful part: God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. You don't have to have it all figured out, and you don't need anyone's permission to start. All God asks is that you open your heart and say, "Yes, Lord, I'm listening." So often we let fear, doubt, or the opinions of others keep us from embracing our calling. But God didn't place this purpose within you for it to remain dormant. Your calling is not just about you, it's about the lives you're meant to touch, the change you're meant to spark, and the legacy you're meant to leave. Don't ignore the voice inside you because it feels inconvenient or because the path ahead seems unclear. Trust that God's calling comes with His provision, His guidance, and His unwavering presence. Recognizing the calling is about faith. It's about believing that what God placed in you is enough and that He will carry you through. The question is not whether God has called you, but whether you're ready to listen, to lean in, and to answer with courage and obedience. Because when you do, you'll discover that stepping into your calling is not just about fulfilling your purpose, it's about becoming the person God created you to be. And that, my friends, is worth every moment of uncertainty and every ounce of faith it takes. Ladies and gentlemen, fear and doubt are some of the greatest tools the enemy uses to keep us from stepping into our God-ordained destiny. They creep into our minds, whispering lies that we are not good enough, not strong enough, not capable enough. But let me tell you something today, fear and doubt are not from God. They are distractions designed to keep you stagnant when God is calling you to move forward. When Moses stood before the burning bush, do you think he was fearless? No, he doubted his ability to lead. He doubted his voice, saying, Lord, I am slow of speech and tongue. But God didn't call Moses because he was perfect. He called him because he had a purpose. And that same God is calling you. He knows your flaws, your insecurities, and even your past mistakes, yet he still chooses you. He chooses you because his strength is made perfect in your weakness. If God can part the Red Sea for a hesitant leader, imagine what he can do in your life when you trust him. The enemy often uses fear to paralyze us, to make us believe that the magnitude of the calling is too great for someone as small as us. But let me remind you that fear is a liar. It magnifies the problem and minimizes the God who can solve it. Do not let the size of the giant in front of you make you forget the power of the God within you. David didn't defeat Goliath because he was the strongest or the most experienced. He defeated him because he walked in faith, trusting that God had already equipped him for victory. That same God is preparing you for every battle ahead, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. Doubt loves to linger in the shadows of what if I fail? What if they don't believe in me? What if I'm not enough? But here's the truth, the only what if that matters is, what if I don't trust God? What if you let fear rob you of the abundant life God has planned for you? What if you allow doubt to keep you from walking in the fullness of your purpose? It's time to silence those voices and lean into the truth of who God says you are. You are chosen, you are equipped, and you are loved by a God who doesn't make mistakes. Fear and doubt are often rooted in the illusion that we have to do it all on our own, but God never intended for you to carry the weight of your calling alone. His word says, I will never leave you nor forsake you. When fear tells you that you can't, God is saying, I can. When doubt says you're not enough, God is saying, I am. Step into his promises and allow him to lead you. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just need to have faith. So today I urge you to stand firm against fear and doubt. They are loud, but they are not lasting. They are persistent, but they are not powerful. God's voice is the only one that matters, and he is calling you higher. Answer him, even if your knees shake, even if your voice trembles, even if you're unsure of the path ahead. Because where God leads, he provides, and where he calls, he equips. Growth and transformation are often wrapped in seasons that challenge the very core of who we are. When God calls us, he doesn't call the person we already are, he calls the person we are meant to become. And here's the truth, many of us struggle to accept transformation is uncomfortable. It requires us to shed the layers of our old selves, to confront our weaknesses, and to embrace a new version of ourselves that feels unfamiliar, at times overwhelming. But isn't that what growth is? The willingness to trust God enough to let him break us open so that he can rebuild us better, stronger, and more equipped for the path ahead. Think about the process of refining gold. Gold in its raw form is valuable, but it's not yet ready to shine. It must endure the fire. It must be melted down, impurities exposed, and shaped into something beautiful and purposeful. That is what God does when he begins to transform you. He allows the heat of life's trials to expose the things that no longer serve your calling: fear, doubt, pride, impatience, and he removes them piece by piece. And though it may feel like you're losing yourself, you're actually becoming the masterpiece he intended all along. Transformation often requires you to let go of what's familiar. You may have to walk away from old habits, relationships, or environments that are no longer aligned with where God is leading you. That can be painful. It's hard to leave behind what feels safe, even when you know it's not serving your destiny, but you have to trust that God's plan is far greater than anything you could imagine for yourself. When He asks you to let go, it's because He's preparing you to receive something far better. Your obedience in those moments is a testament to your faith, and faith is the key to unlocking your purpose. And let me tell you something, growth will challenge you to see yourself differently. It will push you to see yourself as God sees you. That's not always easy because we are often our own harshest critics. We hold on to our past mistakes, the labels others have placed on us, the lies we've told ourselves about who we are and what we can't do. But when God begins to transform you, He speaks to the potential within you, not the flaws. He calls you by your purpose, not your pain. He reminds you that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, that you are equipped with every tool and gift you need to fulfill the assignment He's placed on your life. And that truth will set you free if you allow it to take root in your heart. Walking in purpose with confidence begins with understanding who orchestrated that purpose. When God sets a plan for your life, He doesn't leave it incomplete. He provides the tools, the grace, and the path to fulfill it. But stepping into that purpose takes more than just hearing the call. It requires boldness, trust, and an unwavering belief that you were chosen for something extraordinary. Walking in confidence doesn't mean you won't face challenges. In fact, the moment you decide to align your steps with God's plan, obstacles often appear. Doubt may creep in, and fear may whisper that you're not enough. People around you might not understand or support your vision, and at times you may even feel like giving up. But let me tell you, this God didn't place the calling on your life for it to be easy. He placed it there because He knew you were equipped to carry it. Every hardship, every trial, every tear shed along the way is preparing you for the fullness of what's ahead. Confidence in your purpose doesn't come from having it all figured out. It comes from knowing who's guiding you. It's trusting that when God opens a door, no one can shut it. And when He shuts a door, no one can force it open. It's walking into unfamiliar territory with a heart that says, Lord, I don't know the way, but I know You do. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It's choosing to move forward despite the fear, believing that God's power is greater than your insecurities. You have to understand that the gifts and talents placed inside you are not random, they are intentional. God has crafted you with a specific design, and your purpose is uniquely yours. When you realize that, you stop comparing yourself to others. You stop measuring your progress against someone else's timeline. You embrace your journey, knowing that it's unfolding exactly as God intended. Confidence allows you to stand firm in your identity, unshaken by the opinions or expectations of the world. And let's be real, walking in your purpose might feel lonely at times. Not everyone will see the vision God gave you because it wasn't meant for them, but you don't need their validation to move forward. You only need God's approval, and you already have it. His word says you are fearfully and wonderfully made, that you are chosen, and that He has plans to prosper you. So why hesitate? Why question the very God who formed you? When He calls you, He equips you, and when He equips you, He empowers you to fulfill the mission. Walking in purpose with confidence means you're willing to trust the process, even when it doesn't make sense. It means you're willing to take the leap, even when you can't see the landing. It means you're ready to embrace the unexpected and lean into the unknown because you know that God's hand is steadying you. Confidence is not found in your own strength. It's found in the unshakable truth that God will never fail you. So step out, move forward. The world is waiting for the light God has placed within you. When you step into your calling, you unlock an entirely new level of empowerment, not just for yourself, but for those around you. Your purpose is a force. It is not just something that brings fulfillment to your life, it becomes the thing that inspires others to walk in their own purpose. It's like a spark that can ignite a flame in someone else's heart. There's power in that. There's power in knowing that when you walk in your purpose, you become a living testimony of what is possible when someone chooses to trust God and follow His plan. The journey of discovering your purpose is not just about self-fulfillment, it's about bringing transformation to the world. You might not see it yet, but the more you align with your true calling, the more impact you make. People will see your joy, your peace, your passion, and they will be drawn to it. They'll start to ask questions like, what's different about you? How do you stay so strong? And it is in those moments that you get to share the power of your purpose. You get to say, it's not me, it's God in me. And He's the one who gave me this purpose, this calling, this strength. Your purpose is not just about you succeeding, it's about the lives you are meant to touch along the way. When you show up fully, authentically, and unapologetically in your purpose, you create a ripple effect that has the power to change lives. You inspire someone to keep going when they want to give up. You show someone what faith looks like in action. You provide a beacon of hope for someone who has lost their way. Your life, when fully lived in purpose, becomes a light in someone else's darkness. It's also about the legacy you're creating. The calling on your life doesn't just affect today, it impacts generations to come. When you walk in purpose, you lay the foundation for future generations to follow. You set the example of what it means to trust in God, to push through adversity, to rise above doubt, and to stand firm in faith. Your obedience becomes a legacy of faithfulness that others can look to and say, because they did it, I can do it too. And let me remind you, there is something uniquely powerful about a person who walks in their purpose with confidence and conviction. It's magnetic not because of who they are in the natural, but because of the anointing that flows through them. People are not drawn to the perfection of the person, they are drawn to the authenticity of someone who knows they are walking exactly where they're meant to be. They see the fulfillment, the peace, the strength, and they want that for themselves. They see the God in you, and that is what draws them in. Purpose is not just a calling, it is the very thing that propels you forward, even when the world tells you to stop. It's the energy that keeps you going when the road is tough, when the obstacles seem insurmountable. Because purpose is not dependent on the circumstances. It is dependent on the fact that God has already written the story of your life. And when you align with that story, there is nothing the world can do to stop you. When you embrace your purpose, you can't help but rise above. You become unstoppable. So the next time you feel unsure, or when fear tries to creep in and tell you that you're not enough, I want you to remember this: your purpose is powerful. It's not just for you, it's for everyone around you, for everyone who will be touched by your obedience. It's for the generations that will rise up behind you carrying the torch you've lit. When you walk in your purpose, you empower others to do the same. And that is the legacy of true greatness. Recognizing your divine calling is one of the most powerful revelations you can experience in life. It is understanding that your existence is not by accident, but by divine design. Every gift, every talent, every part of you, your strengths, and even your weaknesses are uniquely woven into a purpose far greater than anything you could ever imagine. I know sometimes we look around and we wonder, what is my purpose? Why am I here? And it's easy to feel lost or unsure, especially when the world around us is filled with noise and distractions. But let me remind you of something: God does not create anything without purpose. You are not here to simply exist or to follow the crowd. You are here to fulfill a purpose that was set for you before you were even born. You might be thinking, how can I know what my calling is? The truth is, recognizing your divine calling is often a process. It requires you to go deep within and listen, really listen to that quiet whisper within you, that inner voice that is always guiding you. Sometimes the calling isn't something loud or dramatic. It's a gentle nudge, a feeling, a knowing deep inside that you were created for more than what you see in front of you. That whisper is God's way of calling you to step into the greatness He has planned for you. Many of us spend so much time looking around at other people, comparing our lives to theirs, measuring our worth by their successes, that we lose sight of our own divine design. But I want to encourage you today, stop comparing your journey to someone else's. You are not meant to walk someone else's path. Your calling is yours alone. And while you may look at others and wonder how they seem to have it all together, know this: their calling is not yours and yours is not theirs. You have been created uniquely. What excites you? What makes your heart race? What fuels your passion? Those are the clues to your calling. It might not come all at once. It might not come with an obvious sign or flashing lights, but it will come. It will unfold in ways that align with who you are at your core. Maybe it's in a conversation you overhear or an opportunity that seems small but carries great potential. It might even come through a challenge, a difficulty you face, because sometimes God uses our struggles to point us in the direction of our purpose. The struggles and obstacles are not there to stop you. They are there to refine you, to prepare you for the great work that lies ahead. You see, recognizing your divine calling requires trust. It requires you to trust that God, in all His wisdom, has placed desires in your heart for a reason. It requires you to stop second-guessing yourself and start embracing the gifts and talents that have always been inside you. God doesn't make mistakes. The gifts you have, the things you are passionate about, are not random. They are part of His divine plan. If you have a heart for service, a heart for healing, a heart for creativity, or a heart for leadership, it's because God has placed those desires within you for a reason. So stop doubting and start believing. Believe that you are uniquely equipped for your calling. Believe that the life you've lived, every joy, every heartbreak, every triumph, and every failure has shaped you for this very moment. The road ahead is yours to walk. Your calling is waiting for you to step into it with confidence, with courage, and with the understanding that you were made for this. God has already equipped you with everything you need to succeed. You just need to recognize that it's time to step forward and claim it. So my friends, the time to step into your calling is now. No more waiting for the perfect moment. No more shrinking back in fear. No more doubting the gifts God has placed inside you. The Creator of the universe has entrusted you with a purpose so unique, so powerful that no one else on this earth can fulfill it but you. Don't let fear or insecurity rob the world of what God has destined for you to do. You may not have all the answers, but you serve a God who does. You may feel unqualified, but God specializes in using the unlikely to do the extraordinary. Every step you take in obedience, every act of faith, no matter how small, is a declaration that you trust Him with your destiny. And when you trust Him, you unlock a strength, a courage, and a confidence that can move mountains. So step boldly, step bravely, and step fully into the purpose God has for your life. Let your life be a testimony of what it means to walk in faith, trust His plan, and live with unshakable confidence. The world is waiting for your light. Answer the call.